Okay. I'm going to do a new kind of reading, another reading that I thought of doing that might be helpful for myself to learn the tarot. And it's kind of lessons from the mundane. There are many mundane things we do every day. You know, we get up, we brush our teeth, we prepare breakfast. We, often on automatic pilot, which is we have to try to get away from every once in a while. What happened today was I went to, I own this property, and last year there was a tree had fallen, a big tree branch had fallen, and I cut up half of it, and it blocked the pathway, and I was going to get back to it, and I didn't get back to it until today. Today I went out there and had my saw and sawed it up and got, opened up the path. So my question is, it's a mundane question, a very simple question, but I'm going to ask the cards, what did I learn from cutting that tree down, or cutting the tree and removing it? What did I learn maybe about that, or maybe about that tree? It fell last year. I cut half of it up. I left the rest of it on the pathway. Then I finally got around to it. What's the lesson from that tree? What can I learn from that tree? One of the reasons I'm thinking of doing this, and I think I'm going to do it more often, depending on how this reading goes, is, I was reading that Madame Pamita book, and it talked about, magical things happening every day, but we just don't notice them. And so our days are full of magic, but we are so in the, thinking about other things, more than likely thinking of other things, or just doing things out of rote, that we don't really notice those special things that happen. So cutting this tree, going back to cutting this tree, I'm going to move this thing, I don't like moving this, was not something I was looking forward to. It took me all of like 10 minutes to do. And for some reason I've been thinking about it for the last year and not getting around to it. So now I got around to it, and I'm going to ask, what did I learn from that tree? Let's just do a little quick, a 3-carder. What did I learn from that tree? Cutting down that tree. Well, right away I have a narrative. Immediately I have a story, but I'm gonna look more into it anyways. I took action for something that has been on my mind for a year, and now I can go on with my day and the rest of my life without thinking about that darn tree out there in the path in the woods that someone could trip on, or I could trip on, or just, it was, the feng shui was all off because it was blocking the path, and you got to clear that stuff out. So, just from looking at this, I could say I took action. Now, because I was worried about this tree and thinking about this tree, inordinately for a long period of time. And now that I've gotten rid of the tree, I'm on to newer pastures, and I'll be a happy person. That's all it took, was going down there and cutting that tree. But what I'm looking for is more of a meaning, more of a synchronicity type deep meaning for the act of cutting that tree. It's not, I wasn't cutting the tree, I was cutting a branch of the tree. The tree is still up, I think. Yeah, I think it's still up. Okay, so how else can I read this? There is, of course, one major arcana. It's over here. And as I say, I tend to think that when someone, a character or a personage and a card is looking at me, that holds more value. I don't know if anyone else takes it like that, but I do. So this guy here, this charioteer, is looking at me, and he's trying to tell me something. I'm not sure what he's trying to tell me, but maybe he's trying to tell me I did a good job. I took action today. I went out there with my saw and saw that sucker down and removed the branches out of the path. So that could just be that. What else does a chariot mean? It's movement, it's action. It's also I got this black and white thing. Is that? I think that's a duality of some kind. I'm not sure what that means. I don't have a lot. Whenever I see the charioteer and the chariot, I just think of action, immediate action, where you don't there's no waiting around. Of course, in history, historically, chariots were used in battle, I believe. So so this is a, you know, forceful, forward-thinking, forward-moving person. There's a lot of other things in here. There's a background of castles. There's this cross here, this equal size cross. There's wings. So there's a lot, and there's some blues in there, spirituality, maybe marching forward in spirituality, maybe marching forward in learning something about myself. Maybe this move to cut this tree down, where I took action, is really action into something subliminal or something hidden or something, not something external, but something spiritual. There is a metaphor, of course, when you cut down a tree. I mean, there's a lot of metaphors you can draw from that. Now, the tree, I didn't cut it down. I just cut down the branch that was in the path, in the way, and I could take that as, the past year has been a difficult year, full of challenges, and that may have portended this year from that tree that was the branch that was across the path. Maybe if I had cut it down last year when I started to cut it down, the year would have gone more smoothly. I don't think that that's what have happened, but maybe it would have. I don't know. But that tree is for some reason, that branch for me is a metaphor of something, and it's a clearance. You're clearing something out. You're opening up a path, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. I did notice when I was cutting the branch, I had cuts in there from last year that I didn't go all the way through. Like I stopped in the middle of it. I don't know why. I was tired, or maybe, I don't know. I think I don't know if it was raining that time, or I think I cut it late in the spring. It may have been too hot. I don't know. I just kind of gave up. Oh, maybe the battery ran out on I have a lithium battery saw. Maybe the battery went out and I had to renew the battery, so I just kind of stopped midway because there were those cuts, but they weren't all the way through. So now that branch is gone. Now that artery, that path is open. And now I sort of have an expectation, just from doing the cards, I have an expectation this may change something. This may be a lesson that I've learned and that I will move on from. I just came back from cutting that branch, which is another interesting thing. So your life can mirror the tarot, and the tarot mirrors your life, and it's kind of interesting. And it's not the cards, it's what you bring to it. It's what you choose to see. It's all about your choice of what you want to see and what you want to pay attention to. So this could be me taking action, maybe, and I said maybe not learning something, maybe not just clearing the path, but more of a spiritual lesson in clearing the path, that there's more to it. It's a metaphor for freeing up the path, freeing up my journey. I sort of like that. And here we have the Ten of Swords, where, of course, the Ten of Swords is a completion card, and it's an ending of this year-long machinations of always in the back of my mind. I mean, I didn't lose sleep over it, but it was always like, I got to cut that branch. I got to cut that branch. And I didn't get around to it till like a year later. So crazy. And now it's done. And there's, sunrise in the horizon. I can move forward on something else. There's other branches in the woods, I'm sure, that I could cut up. But it's kind of freeing myself up from my thoughts that were always there, not seriously, affecting me, but certainly I knew that branch was in there, and I knew I had to go in and do that, clear that up. The Ten of Swords is an interesting visual. Someone's stabbed to death, not once, not twice, but 10 times. It's a little overkill, to say the least. But the swords are thoughts, ideas and communication. So that to me means, obviously it's the suit that's the issue. I mean, it's a suit of thinking, it's a suit of overthinking, a suit that you just can't seem to get it out of your mind. Now, I ask myself now, why did I obsess over this so much? I mean, it wasn't, the woods isn't like it's a well-traveled path. Very few people go in there if they even go in that far. It's my property, so it's not like the only one that would go in there would be me. So why did that? Why did I keep thinking? Why did I keep thinking about it over the past year? What was it about that, having that tree in the path? Why was it so? Why did I keep thinking about it? And why didn't I just handle it until now? Well, I think for obvious reasons, maybe I didn't handle it because it was in the path. It was in the way. So that branch that fell was in the way. Now, I was able to, early this spring, I went out there and I stepped over it. I found it and I saw it, I got to cut this down. And I didn't think I could get over it, but I did get over it. I just walked over it. It was full of, other branches, some were, curving and all. So, but to get to the other side, I just kind of walked over it. And so it wasn't like this huge tree branch. I don't know. I think maybe I tend to worry too much about stuff that really can be easily handled. And I think that's definitely true. And maybe what I have to do is, stop thinking like that. When I get so obsessive about it, I should just realize it's just my own thought processes, and it's not something to be that concerned about. There's this has nothing to do with anything, but when I was growing up, the two comedians that were very popular were Jack Benny and George Burns. And someone who knew them both said they were very good friends, Jack Benny and George Burns. And someone who knew both of them said they're really interesting because Jack Benny worries about the little things but never worries about the big things. And George Burns worries about the big things and never worries about the little things. And I think people are like that. If you consider the people that you know, it seems like we're in two camps. The people that worry about the big things and not the little things, and the people that worry about the little things and not the big things. And I may worry too much about the little things. So maybe what this is saying to me, I gotta acknowledge that. I have to realize that I worry about the little things, and I have to let those little things go. All these little pinpricks, all these little nagging thoughts, not about anything critical. This is not a big thing. I mean, it's not a big event in my life. My house wasn't burned down or all this other stuff that could happen. Everything was fine. It's just this little tree in the path was on my mind. I mean, sort of on my mind for a year. So I guess what I'm saying is, what I'm learning from this card is, if I want to be happy, you gotta let those things go. I mean, that's just silly. And when I find myself going into that, where I'm thinking too much about a really minor thing, is to just stop and let it go, or else deal with it. I could also deal with it. Get the tree off the path and move on. So that's what I'm learning about the tree. I'm learning that something that's so minor that I made such a big thing out of is really affecting how happy I am, and I just have to let those things go, the small things. And the thing about my life is there's a lot of small things. I mean, I get obsessed about a lot of small things, and that could be a problem for me. Maybe I should. I feel like I live my life kind of microscopically. I'm always on these tasks. I always do tasks that are sort of confined, and one task after another, and I'm not really global about things. I think that could be my problem. So. Take action and clear my brain, clear my mind, especially with stuff, when I have a situation where I'm obsessing over something, I need to stop and roll back and think about, is this something that I want to think about? I mean, do I want to keep that in my headspace for like the next 2 weeks or the next 2 hours or the next 5 minutes? And when it's not something that's critical, I need to let it go. Because when I let it go, happy family, happy family. And I'll get more in touch with other, let the brain stuff go and get more into my internal, my hearts, my emotions, my intuition, do things that are more heartfelt and more leading with the heart. You gotta let these swords go. And I think this chariot with its blueness and its spirituality is leading me in this direction, saying, this is a problem, let it go, and when you let this go naturally, you'll pay attention. This will happen. So that's what I'm thinking. Okay, so this is just a mundane reading for myself, and I think I'm going to do more of these. Well, what's the lesson in, it could be anything, in the cake that didn't rise or the bread that didn't rise? What's the lesson in, when I got in a, little fender bender, whatever. I mean, I think if you take those things and pull out the tarot, you could learn lessons from them, and it's not I don't think it's the cards themselves, it's what's it's going to generate, how it interacts with who you are and, your spirituality and your physicality and your emotional state and your inspiration and all that. So it all works together. And I think if you do it with something that is sort of bothering you or sort of like a sort of curiosity with you, then this could be very helpful. Okay, the other thing I got my new crystals. I don't know anything about crystals, but I got turned on to them from Kelly's Truth and Story Journey tokens. And this is Amphibole, or Amphibole. It's from Brazil. They're beautiful. They're known as different things throughout the world, but she has the keyword of soul for those. So I'm raring to go. Okay, have a great day.